Drinker was hung over, in the middle of shaving, one eye open, when his wife appeared in the bathroom door, looking like she'd seen a ghost, to tell him someone claiming to be Stanley Kubrick was on the phone. Pretty much the first thing the great director said when he got the hungover author on the horn was, "Isn't a ghost story fundamentally optimistic?" King was like, how do you figure? Kubrick, an arch-rationalist, argued that the genre inherently assumes that there is at least something beyond the grave, so wasn't it essentially comforting? King, who is ultimately a religious writer, thought it over and asked, but what about hell? It was effectively their last pre-production discussion. We all remember the future, we haunt ourselves. Me, I'm torn between the King and Kubrick sensibilities. The veneer of rationality is pretty thin in all of us, as Shirley Jackson writes in The Haunting of Hill House. No live organism can continue for long to exist sanely under conditions of absolute reality. I'd like to believe we get glimpses of a reality behind this one, even though it would terrify me. I would love to see my father's ghost, or Bigfoot, or a UFO, anything to suggest there's more going on in this world than this dreary human bullshit. But, like Stanley Kubrick, I am a boring materialist. I have a glum faith that our sensory apparatus, when it's functioning correctly, is pretty well designed to get us through the day. I'm afraid sensitives attuned to the spirit world are either credulous self-deceivers or charlatans. It's true that there are more things in heaven and earth than we evolved to perceive, but it's not as if, when we're children, we can see in UV or hear 30 kilohertz and later forget how, or, in our senescence, develop the ability to detect magnetic fields or poke a toe into the 12th dimension. People stop believing in Santa and monsters and have crises of faith in adolescence not because they've become cut off from some primal connection to the magical or divine, but because they learn to distinguish between reality and make-believe and develop critical thinking skills. And I believe that as we age our brains begin to malfunction, eventually stop working, and then we're gone. But this is a horror story no one wants to hear. Shortly after she moved into the retirement community, my mother started hearing music, so faint she had to strain to hear it. At first she thought it was a chorus or barbershop quartet rehearsing. She asked me whether I thought they might be piping in music to the old folks' home at low volume, to pacify the residents. I thought probably not. I was too tactful to point out that auditory hallucinations are a symptom of Parkinson's, but Mom didn't need me to. She was more amused than offended, but she still hears the music. This, it turns out, is why she asked me whether I believed in memories of the future. Do you remember that night when I thought I heard music at the farm? She asked. I said of course I did. She said, I think that was the same music. When I told this story to a novelist, who's writing a book whose narrator is either suffering from dementia or seeing supernatural phenomena, she said that one advantage of fiction over non is that stories are just more fun than the truth. You don't tell a ghost story to convey information, but for the same reason you tell a joke, to evoke an involuntary response, to give someone a feeling, like tickling or startling them, to prod the irrational animal under the civilized surface, make it twitch and squirm, flush it out of hiding. I would much rather have been a science fiction or fantasy writer than an essayist, but, either out of some perverse streak of killjoy honesty or just 'cause I'm bad at making stuff up, I am stuck with the drab materials of fact. There is a different version of this essay to be written, by a more sentimental or credulous writer, that has a happy ending. Its last line, so insipid I can barely stand to type it, goes something like, and sometimes, if I listen carefully, I can hear the music, too. But the truth is, I can't, because I'm not suffering from auditory hallucinations. But, whether we hear the music or not, eventually we all have to face it. This is the unfaceable fact we have to mask with Halloween costumes, disguise as ghosts, vampires, zombies, even slashers are more fun than Parkinson's. Human beings do have a form of precognition. We are, so far as we know, the only animal cursed with foreknowledge. We know our senses will fade, our memories dissolve, ourselves disappear into thin air. We all remember the future, we haunt ourselves. The ghost in every ghost story is you.